Hello, everyone. Today we'll demonstrate our Agentic AI solution, the HR Policy Agent. Employees can ask HR questions in natural language and instantly receive accurate, source-backed answers from company policies without searching through lengthy documents. HR policy information today is highly fragmented and difficult to access. Employees typically search through long HR documents or PDFs, reach out to HR teams for clarification, interpret policies manually, depend on inconsistent responses. This creates several challenges. First, time is wasted searching for basic information. Second, HR teams get overloaded with repetitive queries. Third, answers may be inconsistent or misinterpreted. And finally, policy awareness remains low across the organization. As organizations scale, this becomes a major operational inefficiency. The HR Policy Agent solves this using Agentic AI. It takes the following inputs: user query, for example, what are the leave policies? HR policy documents as a knowledge base. Once a query is provided, the agent understands the intent of the query, retrieves relevant sections from policy documents, extracts structured information, adds citations from source documents, generates a clear formatted response. The output is structured answer, policy breakdown, source-backed explanation. Live demo of the HR Policy Agent on the SimplAI platform. Ask in natural language and the system retrieves relevant HR policies with structured, source-backed responses. Let's quickly walk through the input. On the screen, we can see the policies. For example, what are the leave policies? And that's all we need. There's no need to specify document sections or do any manual filtering. Now we will trigger the workflow. While this runs, the system executes multiple steps behind the scenes. It understands the query intent, retrieves relevant HR policies, extracts structured details like leave types and eligibility, organizes the information, and generates a clear source-backed response. Let's look at the output. First, we have the different types of leaves. For casual leaves, there are 12 days per calendar year. These cannot be carried forward or accumulated, and any unused casual leave lapses. We also have earned leaves, which are 15 days per calendar year. Then we have sick leaves. There are also paternity leaves available. There is a policy about compensatory leave. Additionally, there are guidelines to follow. We can also see the tracings, which show how this information was traced. First, there is an LLM call. We can see that it is querying the knowledge base. Let's look at the query. The query is that it searches for leave policies. After that, we receive different documents. These are the documents that we paste, along with the text chunks. We can also use the Waterfall version. Here we can see how much time each step took. Okay, let's run a few other queries. Is there any reimbursement policy for the expenses? Let's wait for the results. Yeah, it found some reimbursement policies. We have the travel and expense reimbursement policy. These are the eligibilities. We also have the travel and lodging policy, boarding or meal allowance, conveyance allowance, and then the claims process and documentation. We can also ask follow-up questions using the return queries. Let's walk through the implementation of this. First, we have this edit section. This is where the agent is built. Here we define retrieval logic, extraction logic, and output structure inside the base prompt. Then we attach the knowledge base. This knowledge base contains one document, which is a PDF document of the human resource policy. You can see the chunks as well. These are the chunks. Then we have the version section. Here we can see different versions. We can publish any of the versions we want to run, or we can export them as well. We can view the previous version's configuration as well as preview them. It's possible to set this version as the latest as well. This is the preview, and here you can see the preview and the configuration. Now we have the run history. This shows all executions. We can inspect past runs, debug outputs, or analyze performance. We will see the same tracing that we saw earlier. We can also do a waterfall version where you can see the timing for each of the steps. It's possible to filter based on the date as well. Then we have a deployment section. This is where the workflow becomes usable. We can expose it via API, integrate into chatbots, or connect to internal systems. There are several options here. You can also look at the webhooks. It's possible to configure your webhook so that whenever the chat is ready, you receive an event on your webhook URL, letting you know the chat is complete with the data. You can also do a A2A configuration and integrate your agent with third-party apps as well. Then we have test datasets. Here we can evaluate quality. We can create test queries, define expected outputs, and measure accuracy. This is one of the test datasets that we have created. Let's create another one. We will give it a name, Test Run 1. Then we will perform it for the latest version. We want to create the dataset. Let's give it a prompt. This agent is an HR policy agent, which uses HR policy documents to answer user queries based on the document. We will generate a view, HR policy-related test queries, and the output. Behind the scenes, an assistant reads the input structure and the instruction, then generates the inputs and the expected output the agent should have. We have 10 rows here. Let's create this dataset. You can preview this as well. It is created. We can configure LLM-as-a-Judge as well as the Python executor. Here we will configure LLM-as-a-Judge because it is a natural language query, not some kind of scoring. Let's give it a name Test Evaluator 1 and with a description. We can fill this out as well. All other sections respond to user queries related to HR policy. Autofill it? We can select other models as well, but let's keep the default set to GPT-5 and then start the test. We can see the progress here. Once the progress is complete, we can see the average score. We can also download it. During the creation of the dataset and at the evaluation step, it is important to be as descriptive as possible. This will affect your results no matter what problem statement you have. The prompt should clearly specify the details. We have a few scores here. We can see the scores and also the explanation for the score that was given for each of the answers. We can also download it. We can view the configuration that we have set, including the evaluation prompt, the name, and the version. Now we have the evaluate section. This is also similar to the dataset section, but it runs on the previous data. We can configure it for the previous runs, evaluate real runs, check performance, or use it to continuously improve our solutions. Let's create another one. We will run it on the past runs. Select a few, give it a name such as Test Run for the latest app version, and select a few of the runs. Then we give the same prompt here. Test Evaluator 1. This is an HR policy agent. We can use the document to answer queries related to HR policy. Let's autofill it, then we save it. Here we also have these scores. We can view the tracings here as well, like we saw earlier. These are two tool calls to the knowledge base. For easier reading, we can view it as a JSON or a YAML file. We can check the sick leave policy and the personal leave policy. Then we have these scores. This one performed a bit better. We can also download it here. Let's take a look at the configurations. Now let's go back to the edit section. We can also export this solution or clone it. If we export it, we have the option to share it with any other user, and they can import it into our platform and start building from there. This solution provides 80 to 90% reduction in HR query load, instant response for employees, consistent and accurate policy interpretation, improved employee experience, scalable across organizations, traditional systems only search documents. Agentic AI understands user intent, retrieves relevant information, structures responses, ensures source grounding. It doesn't just search, it interprets policies intelligently. In summary, the HR policy agent transforms how employees interact with company policies. By combining intelligent retrieval, structured extraction, context-aware responses, it enables instant, reliable HR assistance at scale. Thank you.